it's going to be very tempting to use AI as a weapon. It's going to be very tempting. In fact, it will be used as a weapon. So the on-ramp to serious AI, the danger is going to be more humans using it against each other, I think, mostly. That's a much harder problem to deal with. And then how do we ensure that the future is going to be the future that we want, that we still like?
Listen to it.
No, I mean, I do think that there's a potential path here, which is having some sort of merger with biological intelligence and machine intelligence. To some degree, we are already a cyborg. The digital tools that you have, your phone, your computer, the applications that you have, like the fact that you can ask a question and instantly get an answer from Google or from other things. And so you already have a digital tertiary layer. I say tertiary because you can think of the limbic system, kind of the animal brain or the primal brain, and then the cortex, kind of the thinking and planning part of the brain, and then your digital self as a third layer. So you already have that, and it's like if somebody dies, their digital ghost is still around. All of their emails and the pictures that they posted and their social media, that still lives, even if they physically died. And it's mostly about the bandwidth, the speed of the connection between your brain and your digital extension of yourself. We used to have like keyboards that we'd use a lot. Now we do most of our input through our thumbs on a phone. That's just very slow. A computer can communicate at 1 trillion bits per second, but your thumb can maybe do 10 bits per second or 100 if you're being generous. So some high bandwidth interface to the brain, I think, will be something that helps achieve a symbiosis between human and machine intelligence and maybe solves the control problem and the usefulness problem. If you can't beat it, join it. Narrow AI, like vehicle autonomy.
See? He's, as I say, he's not just crackpot. He's the richest man in the world. He's actually doing it. And, well, as you hear him talk, he's keen. I don't think there's much thought of maybe actually deciding not to bother. He's going to do it. And what, that there's a lot of people very worried about it, and another lot of people screaming loony madness about it. Conspiracy theorists clearly going too far. This is the problem. What we've heard there from the richest man in the world and the metaverse and these other technologies are kind of imposed on us for. You can tell that someone like me, I'm not bothered at all about all that. But I don't have a choice in whether it gets introduced into the world, obviously. But you look at some conspiracy theorists, and as I say, I do occasionally, or I used to, as part of the work we were doing with the Dignity Scholarship. But they'll report on simply what's been happening there, what's being suggested, but then take it way too far and knit it into their own ideas about how the world is run, and that sort of thing. And then it becomes a big mess as they scream the loudest, and they influence more than you'd think, more than they used to do. In the meantime, what seems to be lost is very calm inquiries about civil liberties or some rather normal concerns get sort of washed over with the likes of this fella going way too far for his own profit, really. I'll show you. Now, the opposite end of the scale to Musk in a way, but this guy sounds like a total loony. He's not. He's in business, But he sounds like you could just think to yourself, oh well, whatever, that's rubbish. But he had the ear of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. He was very, very, very powerful, in a sense, Borg. Let me see if I can show you what he says here. Again, you look at it. I'm going to look at the paintings.
Learn about iodine deficiency. Learn about atomic iodine. And then get the highest quality atomic iodine available on the planet at InfoWarsStore.com. X2 is now back in stock. So there's a couple things we need to get out of the way here. The collapse that has been initiated is now irreversible. The word is irreversible. There's no putting the genie back in the bottle. Now, it can be 10 or 20 times worse if they get what they're actually looking for. And we're talking 6 billion plus dead by 2030. That's the official plan. And I told you 2+ years ago they would start environmental lockdowns once you were trained to live under the viral lockdown. And now India and Italy have announced lockdowns, rationing, electricity only certain times of day to, quote, save the earth. And because, quote, the resources have been cut off from COVID, which wasn't COVID, but was the globalists using that as the pretext to destroy the global infrastructure. The globalists were a corporate system that took control of the international order and of the global order and of the idea of community of man and humanity working together to put their grid into everything so that they could take the grids down. And now they're all over every media outlet you can imagine saying that the Earth's carrying capacity has been reached and that billions are going to starve to death in the next few years and that you're going to live in a highly surveilled ration system where your smartphone tells you where you can go, what you can do, and what you're allowed to buy and sell. And as the resources dwindle, a lot of people will get on board with the authoritarianism saying, just do what they say and they'll stabilize the planet. But of course, the more you submit, the worse it's going to get. And that's why you see martial law drills in Canada and in blue cities in the US and in China and all over Europe and everywhere. This is the globally directed beta test that has now ended. Censorship is just the beginning so they can carry this out. Then there is the debanking, there is the persecution, and there is the arrest and enslavement and execution of anyone opposing this planetary takeover. It should be very easy to defeat if we're able to model it, break it down, chronicle it, and then get leaders who are compartmentalized to wake up. It could have been stopped. But now the collapse is unfolding, and so now it's even more desperate that we warn everybody so they understand that those initiating the collapse and admitting they're doing it in their white papers are now the ones that are going to preside over the crisis and pose as the savior and just put out the cover story to the dumbed-down public, to the very simplistic public, to the one-dimensional public. Oh, there's deadly viruses because of global warming. Oh, there's collapse of the food chain because of global warming. We've got to do all this because of you're bad. Humans are bad. And then they have the organized collapse, depopulation, and total transhumanist takeover of whoever's left at the end of that beyond dystopic system that they have initiated. This is a coming out of evil. This is hundreds of years of preparation and waiting. And
I think that will do, won't it, Borg? But he's incredibly powerful. The conspiracy nut is the maker of kings. Well, that's what that's about. He put Donald in. It's quite not fun. It's interesting when you see someone who analyses these people they tend to always say a similar thing, that they're successful because they mix a certain amount of plausibility, true things, and then have a leap of logic here and there, and it's a bit of an art to it. But he's clearly talking, he's trying to get his head round, or let's be kind and say he's trying to get his head round the changes that are happening, and we can see how, as technology increases, what we've seen with the old with you, it's very worrying, Borg. And then you can easily imagine it turning into, you know, something along the lines of what he says, a surveillance nightmare, which it is. But then he goes so far to be obviously not a credible place to have a discussion about perhaps the serious points to do with the surveillance, the karma aspects. And it's because he's in business. He's business, Borg. He's after the clicks, and he's selling little potions and that. But when you look at a few of these, that the big idea that helps in selling a theory, a conspiracy theory, is this big reset concept, which again you can kind of feel it. Changes are happening. We're being told happily by the companies in charge that there are going to be very, very, very rapid changes to everything, and you know, this for some people comes out in a sort of conspiracy about a planned new era where the planet's taken over. Anyway, it's funny because I think it's all about the change in nature of capitalism, Borg, isn't it? Really. And then that is understood whichever way you can, according to your, you know, the things you look at, what you want to believe, and if you're in business, what is profitable. But it's all about the change in nature of capitalism and technology. I'll show you another one. Any one of these guys will show you something. And it's an example, Borg, of where we are again. Now this is a character, it doesn't matter who he is, but you would say he would be politically on the other side to that fellow we just watched. But a little look at any of what he says, and again I show you these ones because they're very influential. He speaks to millions of people, Borg. If I just show you can see there, Borg, the themes are very much what you would find on that other man's site of powerful elite, an organised and evil elite running the world. You know, it seems funny because I know that he's come from a place similar in a way to where we've come from, which is, you know, a sort of outrage at the austerity in Britain after the financial crisis. You know, feet on the ground kind of worries and fury. And then as the years have gone on, you see him merge into something similar to the wild conspiracy. Yeah, so I like to pick on this guy as an example of the change in times. Let's click on this one.
Good news! Thanks to big tech companies, we're all going to live forever. The bad news is you're going to have to give them even more data, or even the most private data, especially that. Hello Hello there, you 5.5 million awakening wonders. Together we learn and grow. The light within us burgeons and spreads. We learn how to communicate openly and lovingly, with tolerance, openness to one another, in spite of all the odds. If you want to come to a one-day event with me and Wim Hof, register for my mailing list. Become a part of my weekly bulletin community. There's a link at the end. I'll put it up there. Where I'm to meet dead people and go, what was it like during the war, Grandad? You know, that's perfectly sweet and perfectly fine. But I would say this, if as a co-committing component of that, it takes all of your data, that's something that you should be aware of. All we need is all your data to make it as articulate and authentic as possible. Interesting, has the internet got a history of taking data and misusing it? And second, when inevitably this technology ends up in the hands of tech oligarchs and the mightiest people on the planet, what do you think their priority is going to be? All we want is for the people of the world to meet their dead granddads and have a good old chat about the allotment. That's all we've ever dreamed of. It's just people of the world talking to their dead granddads. Do you want to make any money? Money? Oh, no. Do you want power and influence? Do you want to mind consciousness, direct behaviour? Do you want to collaborate with governments around the world till people don't even know?
That's enough, I think. That is enough. But from our distant outposts, we look at him and we see a lot of agreement when we look at someone like the InfoWars fella or David Icke. You know, and I wonder if he's aware of that. And he probably would be horrified at that, but that's how it appears. This is the point where when you play in the game of being in this sort of let's call it the orientation business, or the disorientation business, where you've got a channel that is appealing because you're revealing perhaps secrets and then providing answers, revealing the chaos, and then providing. I mean, this guy's got a meditation channel to calm you down after. I might go and look at it. But he's in business, you know. But the influence they have is rather serious. Anyway, this hasn't gone as we hoped, really. I don't think we wanted to show you what we've showed you, but I don't know what else to do, really. The main idea, perhaps. I'll just show you one more. You've got to look at this one because he's, again, in my country, he has an influence, you know, and it's partly he has an influence because of tricking you or playing games with you, or in the business of getting attention, you know. So, and you can get better attention if we know how to trick you or how to appeal to you, and with that as the motivation, what is presented becomes more sensational and provocative, and the more it causes a stir or such like that, the better it is for everyone, because they're in the business of getting more attention. In any case, it's another example where you might see a lot of information that you might even agree with, you know, a lot about the problems of the power of your daddies. But again, when it comes to the crunch, this all drifts to a rather nasty place on the far alt-right. Sexism, racism, misogyny, you know, racism off the scale, you know. So it's never discussed on these sites, the actual politics. It's just an endless drama that you catch, but this becomes the news to a lot of people. But you know what it is, I mean, he takes apart these people in his own way, and he might say exactly the sort of thing we might go on about until there's some leap of logic, until he connects it to something mad, and again the discussion you might have had about concerns is out the window, and then it's into the full exaggerated conspiracy story that's there really for the profit of the person telling it.
Learn about iodine deficiency, learn about atomic iodine, and then get the highest quality atomic iodine available on the planet at InfoWarsStore.com.
See, they're in this very good.
Is to sort it all out. And that is a big red flag and red flashing lights
Catalyst.
whenever that happens. Anyway, this is the story. SpaceX, this Musk company, launched its Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station to deliver 60 Starlink satellites into orbit Monday morning. This was the fourth mission to be completed by the rocket, and the first time it has had a reused nose cone attached from or to the front tip. The satellites successfully deployed from Falcon 9 about an hour after leaving the ground at an altitude of 174 miles above the Earth. SpaceX shared the mission in a live video, which viewers from around the world were able to tune in and watch. The firm, founded in 2002, is on a mission to develop a low-latency broadband internet system to meet the needs of consumers across the globe, and its aim is to give US consumers internet access in 2020. Quote, enabled by a constellation of low Earth orbit satellites, Starlink will provide fast, reliable internet to populations with little or no connectivity, including those in rural communities and places where existing services are too expensive or unreliable. Falcon took off from the launch pad at 9:56 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and released the payload into orbit and made a successful landing on the drone ship dubbed Of Course I Still Love You. Oh, work that one out. Anyway, yeah, Of Course I Still Love You. I love you so much that I'm going to tell you that this is about connectivity for people in rural areas, when, as I've been pointing out now for so many years in the books and the talks, this is about making sure that not a single inch of planet Earth is not covered by Wi-Fi, 5G eventually, and thus able to be controlled by the smart grid.
I'll just stop there, Bob, because that's a certain point about surveillance. What you're gonna, if you are spread so widely, the question of who, surveillance is very, very real. But again, it goes too far for the man's own profit, and so discussion can't be had really. In fact, the one thing that's a feature of these types of sites and people is there is no discussion. They hold forth, and what they piece together is how it is, and then they sell it. And I look at this, Borg, partly because we see how it inspires a lot of far-right thinking, or is a part of that process. At times like Brexit or an election, these places actually become dangerous. But also because they are very popular, very influential. A lot of people, a lot of eyes on this, a lot of minds on this sort of thing, as a kind of mainstream news outlet now. And that's why we're looking at it,
Needs to be called out. I would love to debate this
I
guy.
don't know if it's worth going on. with it much,
Electromagnetic field pollution can cause psychiatric effects in humans, plus spontaneous abortions, infertility, and cellular DNA damage. Something else I've been banging on about for such a long time. Because the human body.
So anyway, when every country's got their version of these people, and if it's not about COVID, it's about the big reset. And if it's not about that, it's about smart grids covering the world. You know, and overall, it's about the changing nature of the times, the technology involved. But at root, you've got to say, surely, everyone and their gran, except Mackenzie Walk, maybe, you'd have to say that everyone's being kind. They're grappling with the changing nature of capitalism. Well, surely that's worth saying. Some people, of course, are in it for profit, maybe, to a degree. It's not clear, politically motivated even, but I don't think so. I think it's profit, but there's one direction that all this goes out at the end is far-right politics. But it's a mess, Paul. Everybody's, at this time, and I'm showing you the state of you now, and we've been discussing you for a while, a year at least. Excuse me. Hi. Well, I'll come in right now. Okay. Bye-bye. Well, Borg, sometimes you get a little gift. I think we've just got one there because you've been going on a lot. We're looking at our least favourite thing in the world, a conspiracy website, and my partner's just called there asking when I'm coming in to say goodnight to my daughter, and I'm going to take this chance, Borg, to say goodbye. And to be fair, there's a lot more to you than I've showed you here. I don't think we'll be turning it back on. This has been unpleasant. I don't look at any of this. You've seen how we roll normally. You could be here for years showing you examples of this and that, and of confusion and worry about your development and the political chaos that can be conjured up thanks to you. You could be here forever, and you know, we're not that much of a sucker. So good night, Borg, and we'll be delighted to see you again, perhaps just one more time out sur le motif, as the Frenchman says, possibly to take an overly pruned fruit tree, which we have a couple of ideas about, Borg, so we'll turn you back on in front of that. And say goodnight to my daughter.